let's talk politics. You made a run for governor of California not too long ago. You are a Republican. You are backing Chris Christie right now. I'm interested, Meg, what do you make of the state of your party right now?
Well, there's a lot going on and a lot of candidates out there. And, so I think the good news is there's a lot of debate about the issues. But frankly, I think, it will be helpful when we get down to a more narrow number of candidates. So each candidate gets a time to speak more and talk more about the issues.
You're betting on someone who isn't polling in the top right now, Chris Christie, but you like him. You're backing him. Why?
Well, I decided that it made sense for me to get in early to support someone that I had a lot of confidence in, who I thought could lead this country, and I believe his record of being able to work across the aisles and get things done in New Jersey was going to be an important criteria for the next president. And I know him very well. I thought very highly of him. And I said, to the extent I can make a small difference in his campaign and helping him achieve, the nomination, then it makes sense to get in early as opposed to sit on the sidelines.
So when we spoke in June, I asked you about Carly Fiorina, the former HP CEO, making a run for the presidency. And you said to me, quote, she has a lot of strengths. And you pointed to her business experience. Why didn't you choose to back Carly Fiorina?
Because while I think business strengths are important, I also think having worked in government is an important part of the criteria. I think it's very difficult for your first role in politics to be president of the United States. And so I think having experience in either the Senate or as the governor of a state, I think is really important. It's just hard to be dropped down into Washington, D.C., never having been in politics before. So I wanted to have someone who'd had some experience in politics.
Although it's interesting because looking at the polls and how the voters are responding right now, it seems like they want nothing to do with anyone who's been in Washington. I'd like you to listen to this clip from the debate this week, what Carly Fiorina said, pointing to her business experience.
One of the things that I think people don't always understand is how accountable a CEO actually is. So, I had to report results every 90 days in excruciating detail. I had to answer every single question about every single result and every single projection in public until there were no more questions. And if I misrepresented those results or those projections in any way, I was held criminally liable. Imagine if a politician were held to that standard of account.
Do you agree, Meg, that experience prepares someone for the White House?
So listen, I think business experience actually is a nice to have. If you could find someone who had business experience, plus the political experience, listen, I think that's a great option. I will say the governors are held responsible for what happens in their states, honestly. Maybe not the way that we are in business, but there is an accountability. And there's also accountability about elections. Listen, you can get voted out. And while there may not be a day-to-day accountability or like our earnings reports, you have to get reelected. And if the people do not like what you've done and don't think that you've delivered what you said you would do, you won't win your next election. So there is an accountability in politics. It's a different kind of accountability. And so I just think, literally having some experience in politics for the highest office in the land is probably, an important criteria. It may not be the only criteria, but I do think it's an important one.
Topping most of the national polls right now for the GOP is Donald Trump. If he is the nominee, Meg, will you back him?
So I'll have to wait and see how this works out. I mean, I'm watching the process just like you and all the other voters, because I have a day job called splitting Hewlett Packard into two companies. It's been a little busy out there. So I'm watching just like everyone else. So let's see how this plays out. And, when we, end up at the end of the nominating process, let's have another conversation.
Let's do that. Let's have you on. We'll mark that date down. But look, you're a Republican. I know you're someone who's going to vote. Right now, you're not telling me that if Donald Trump is the nominee, you'll back him. What are your questions about him?
Yeah, I'm not really telling you anything here, Poppy. I'm just saying let's watch how the process goes. We're going to get to know the candidates a lot better over the next, 3 to 4 months. And we're going to get to know the Democrats more over the next 3 to 4 months or 5 months. So let's see how this all shakes out, and we'll see where we are.
Do you have any interest in jumping back into politics one day?
Probably not elected politics. I made a run. I'm very proud of the way we conducted the campaign. Didn't work out. And so actually, fortunately, I was able to come back to a great company like Hewlett Packard and help in the turnaround of a, American and frankly, global technology icon.